Okay. Hi, everyone. What's up? Hi, JC.
All right. At least I'm in the right spot.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're exactly in the right spot.
I'm in like
And Fritz
10
is,
different Discord groups, and I rarely use Discord. I'm a LinkedIn fanatic these days.
uh-huh. Yeah, I know you're a LinkedIn fanatic. Whoa, Fritz, you
What?
look
You're,
snazzy. What?
I went to a BNI meeting, so this was
oh,
my get up, and then I had to like speed home to get on the call, and then now here I am. So you get to see me in my
Fabulous.
BNI. Wow.
uh,
Yeah.
my business costume. Yeah, good stuff, huh? I was invited by a friend. I'm not cheating
My
on you guys.
God.
Don't worry.
Very cool. Yeah, you're so fancy.
I'm
Um,
so fancy.
Great. People are just starting to flow in a little bit. Very good, very good. And now this time, I think I got Craig figured out to record. So Fritz unfortunately did not get his workshop recorded, but I think we figured out how to make it happen this time.
I love it.
So yeah, and so I want to introduce JC because I think a lot of folks already know him, but I also want to, yeah, like give him the good old introduction. So JC and I met how long ago? 4 years ago? 5 years
Yeah,
ago?
yeah we'll go with 5. That seems like a safe bet. Yeah.
Back when yeah, because I still owned Green Cup, and yeah, you and I probably met in 2017. Yeah. And I think we met initially, you interviewed me about me running my tech company,
Yep.
and then we just had fun. And so I get a message one day from JC that says, "Hey, you want to be a co-host on my podcast?"
Yep.
So
Yep.
ever since, yeah, besties ever since. And then we had the opportunity to physically meet in 20
Pre-COVID 19.
2019, right before it, right
Yeah.
before it. Like COVID was a thing already, but just not in the United States yet.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
JC, you wear many hats. You have a lot going on all the time. So why
Yep.
don't you, yeah, always has a hat on, by the way, like literally
Yeah.
always has a hat
That's my thing. I have I realize I probably have like 20 hats as part of my wardrobe right now, but it's
on.
not because I'm losing hair, but yeah.
You might be losing
I
hair
just
because the hat's rubbing it off.
yeah, I just like keeping my head warm. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
say again.
So tell us what you're up to lately. Like, who's
What am I
JC
up to?
Preston?
Dude,
Yeah.
wow, just crazy connections. Like, you know, for me, so 2020 was really kind of a year for me to kind of reflect and just kind of figure out where things were going. The event business was put on hold because we weren't able to really get into any um, places to host the events, and so we had to scramble to make income as far as my other business partners go, and so we went into the consulting space and making deals and doing that sort of thing, and then come October 5th, around middle of October a year ago, we realized that we were having up to 12, 15 deals manually that we were trying to introduce some people over here to these folks over here so that they could all kind of start doing business together. And during that point, we realized that there has to be a more efficient way to be connectors and take the 10% that we would get from making those introductions. And we just realized that why can't we just kind of build a system, if you would, that would allow us to have landing pages for all these different partners that we had going on. And so what it ended up starting to look like was that every month we would feature 2 new partners that were part of our network that we had developed their landing page. And so it's like, here's the landing page, and then on the back end, you wouldn't have to necessarily take care of those introductions anymore. So that we were internally in American Wellness Consulting, we were internally calling that Brushfire, and that was kind of like our code name for that system, and just
A
being able
great
to,
code name.
yeah, well, so that it really became more of an affiliate system and all that sort of stuff, and as the 2020 2021 have panned out, there's a lot of people that are really starting to use the affiliate marketing technique, just simply because there's a lot more online trust now, and as we're heading more and more into this world of the metaverse, these ongoing relationships, like literally, it's not so much that the email marketing and traditional ways of marketing don't exist, but word of mouth advertising is the only kind of advertising that actually has a compounding effect, right? So you talk to and we even talk this internally. We call it depends on how many you start with. You can call it 330, 300, or 550, 500. But basically, if you tell five people something, those 5 people can turn around and tell 10 people each, and then those 10 people can become 500. There's your marketing army all of a sudden. And so that really is kind of, in a nutshell, what Brushfire marketing was all about. And now we've gotten to the point where we're just meeting all kinds of people left and right. It's like, hey, we see what you're doing. Do you need help with adding blockchain to different websites that you're talking to as far as helping them with their affiliate program? Do you need help with, anything that's in that would be obviously your NFTs and your Web 3.0s and all that sort of stuff? Or do you need another partner that's really been kind of cool to meet? Do you need funding for a company to scale to that next level, which might include loans from family offices that range anywhere from $5 million to $15 to $50 million loans?
And by bones, he means dollars, not actually.
Yes. Yeah.
And
So
JC, I'm wondering
we can totally get into the Shiba conversation there too. I mean, we got leash and bone, right? But anyway. But go ahead.
I'm wondering if you did this on purpose or not, because I noticed that there is a conspicuous book on your bookshelf right next to your shoulder.
Oh, yes, all the time. Actually, bring it up quite a bit, right behind Robert.
Oh,
right
yeah?
There. Yep. And that's just the thing, is that when we're really talking to people about the metaverse, right? And it's just like things have changed quite a bit over the years. And
it's changing so fast, even still now.
It's changing faster and faster, right?
Thanks for mentioning my book to folks. That's really nice of you.
Oh, all the time. It's a good conversation starter. So, we're just helping companies at this point really kind of get ready for the metaverse and what it means and how to craft online products and all that sort of stuff.
So, also fun fact, JC's son has my birthday. So that was like a fun little additional layer to our relationship. So, JC, you and I met when I was in the middle of scaling my tech company. So I was still in it. I was figuring out what scaling meant. And now today I know that, I have the 3 pillars of business scaling that I've built my scaling system around, and systems are a really important piece of that. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, from my personal clients all the way to just people in our community, really entrepreneurs seem to struggle with systems for some reason. Maybe it's that freedom of I don't need constraints anymore. No one's putting that on me. I don't work for anyone. But we really do need systems. And so, I have my own reasoning for the way that I explain why systems are so important. But why would you say that business systems and systematizing your business is so important?
Wow. Where do you even get started in that conversation? Well, for one, what gets you from 0 to 1 is not going to get you from 1 to 2. That's one thing. So what do I mean by that is that, if you're that hustler type of person that's really good at getting something started and I think entrepreneurs by kind of like definition are all about really kind of like just going all out and hustling and making it work. That's not necessarily going to move the needle once you have some sort of level of success. Because the more you you have to get really good at paying attention and limiting your attention to things as you start growing.
Limiting your attention.
Yeah.
That's so what unpack that. Like getting good at limiting your attention.
So,
what does that look like?
The thing is, right, is like I have 3 screens here, right, that I'm looking at. And I can tell you that, and I've had this set up for years. And I actually started doing this when I was doing my thesis when I was back in grad school. And the thing is that I get to the point now, right, that I'll have so many tabs open, it becomes that for me is kind of like a check system of like opening tab and then starting from the right and then going back just to make sure that I can close them through. If you're not doing something, even if something is like a system like that, then you're going to be like probably opening up these tabs and then they'll disappear and there goes an opportunity.
You just lose. Right. Like something that you said, I need to take action on this. I can't take action now. I'll take action tomorrow.
Exactly.
And then if you don't sort through your tabs, you lose it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or you can keep adding to tabs and then nothing ever happens, right? So you kind of have to have a system for me is to make sure that I have at least below 25 tabs open at any one given time. And then if I have more than that, then I definitely have to like go through them just to make sure that it's like, okay, this is not relevant to what I'm doing. This is not relevant. And this is just like little tiny, like my own little hacks. Now, as far as like, just in general, I've gotten really good at saying no a lot in 2020, 21. And unfortunately, one of those things that I had to say no to was the podcast, simply because wearing 6 hats to get it out, to do the editing, to do the hosting, to getting the guests, no bueno. That's not going to happen. And the only way that I'm going to get to season 6 is if I actually have a VA team that actually be behind me to do some of that work.
Right. And so that's like, I think that's an important moment to talk about actually, because this was something that you had traction with. I mean, like we interviewed some really big names on that podcast.
Yeah.
And you created beautiful connections for yourself, for us co-hosts, for everyone that you had on the show. Like you were doing a really good thing. But the next step would have been to scale it through outsourcing and hiring. And you chose not to. And so I'm curious, I actually feel like you and I have similar reasons. Like I had Green kept down to 10 hours. Why didn't I just keep it and finish scaling it? But so like, why did you why not scale it? Why?
It's just that attention thing. It's just that attention thing.
Right? The attention suck away from what you wanted to be focusing on.
I had it at that point. I realized that I was trying to do essentially like 4 different businesses. And the thing is that if you're trying to actually kill something, right? Having multiple businesses, like me working on new inceptions with the podcast and creating my own brand, is going to be completely distracting from what I was doing with Brushfire, which is going to be completely distracting from what we were doing with American Wellness Consulting, which is where we first started right after the pandemic, right? So essentially, we've put on hold, I've put on hold new inceptions. We've put on hold as business partners, American Wellness Consulting, to focus on Brushfire and really kind of make that more of the what is it that it specifically does, and the one, really the lead offer and the bullseye offer of what it is that we're offering people through that agency.
Do you feel like we start these different basically products or offerings, and each one can be its own business. A podcast is a business, a book is a business, speaking's a business, consulting, coaching is a business. Do you feel like it's almost like multiple children and then you choose like which one needs the most attention right now, and you have to kind of like, maybe that's not a good analogy, maybe it's more like farming, but like you have to kind of like cull and like pull out the sprouts that aren't going to be the strongest or don't need as much attention right now, so that you can focus in and make The Biggest Pumpkin, The Biggest Pumpkin. I don't know if you've ever read that book.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and the thing is that like what I've learned really over 2020, 2021, these 19 months since of COVID, is maybe it's up to, are we at the 20 months now? But the point is what I've learned is that it's better to run together as part of a larger pack, even if that means that you have to fall into second, like kind of be like more of the like like I'm more of an advisory position and or like literally my title right now is Chief Growth Officer at Brushfire, right? Which for me that's perfect. That's a perfect fit, right?
Yeah.
Thing is that allows me to rely on my other teammates who focus on other things like financials or contract work and closing the deals and or sales and or fulfillment, right? We have in Brushfire we have like there's 5 of us. And so the thing is we all know what our capacity is so that we don't have to really focus on
stretch
anything. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And now, to be clear, one could do that with partners like you are. One can also hire. So you hire your weaknesses, right? So you find someone who's better at it than you. But it's a lot easier to spin up with partners, especially when you have a product that you're putting out, because then everyone's kind of on equal footing from the start, even when there's not very much money to pay for.
Case in point, there's nothing wrong with having your own mafia. They got the mafia of people, right? So we call it the Avengers team, and I'm a great Nick Fury. But
yes, you do, of course.
The thing is that there's nothing. Yeah, there's definitely nothing wrong with being that you got to stay in your lane, and that's one of the things that I've really paid attention to, and part of really being able to connect with the other people that are part of your group is having those systems in place. That we're kind of going back to the main topic. There has been a few books that have been really key in my development this last year or so. I would highly recommend checking out the Daniel Priestley line of books, Dent.Global. And then there was also, I finally got around to reading the Emyth Revisited, and I highly recommend that book.
Everyone says that one is great. And so I'll actually put those on our bookshelf here after our chat. But so to define really what systems are, the way that I define them are repeatable tasks within the business, but at some point they need human intervention. Others we'd be talking about automation, which is what we talked about last month. It's a repeatable task, but a tech can just handle it. So somebody's got to be doing something at some point, even if it's mostly just move this piece around because everything's set up. So what has been like, let's just unpack a moment where you were able to change your work or your business because of a system. Like, is there a particular system that really made a difference for you?
I mean, that's just the thing, right? So just a simple one is that I've always tried to move people whenever I'm working in a team. I always try to move people to Slack, right?
Okay.
Like Slack
so like a system for communication.
Yeah, system for communication, right? Otherwise, you're going to be messaging people through Facebook, or you're going to be messaging them through text, or you're going to be messaging them through email. And then, by the way, it'll come to the point where I know you said something, but I have no idea what it is. Can you send that back over again?
Right, and where it was.
Yeah.
Because you have so many different
places to go to, right?
Yeah.
And so that just in itself can be somewhat of a very time-consuming thing if you're bouncing around trying to figure out, okay, so where's that Zoom link at that we were supposed to meet up today, or something like that, right? I mean, very, very basic. And then you can anywhere up to like sales systems, right? So you got to know what you're doing between generating the lead and all the different pieces between that, doing the, really nurturing that lead, and then going through the sales process, and then going through onboarding, fulfillment, et cetera, right?
Right.
That has to be a system.
Yep. Yeah. But a lot of people won't. They just fly by the seat of their pants every time. And then they wonder why they feel so exhausted. And so what really systems are doing is saving you time, helping you be organized, but also giving you peace of mind, which is what I talk about a lot, because you don't have to try to hold it all in your head. It's systemized. You just take them through the steps, take your leads through the steps, implement the system for your team, and then you all just use it that way, or, what have you.
So another thing that really is very helpful is understanding what your SOPs are.
And SOP is?
A standard of procedure, right?
Okay.
And making sure that you have those down. So if you're making a website for a client, what are the end goals with said website? Not to be confused with doing social media work for them, because it's not the same thing. But you need to have one for each, if that's what your agency does, for example. And then, so you have those in place, but then you also want to, as you have those developed, you also probably want to have some sort of a project manager system or place. So, maybe you're using Notion, maybe you're using ClickUp, maybe you're using Asana, right? We are actually in the process of moving. Yeah, we're moving from Notion to Asana, I believe, in the next couple of days. Yeah.
We use Asana now and really like it. But for my project management at Green Cup, we always used Basecamp, because we had 3 ends of communication, which is also an important part of designing your system. Like how many users are there, user types, and who are the touch points. And so we needed team and client input, as well as then the manager to see it through. And so we had to have, all of those interfaces.
Yeah. So, and again, I mean, and then there's really cool things like new tools that I'm always finding. One was called, if you're like in the developer space, where I think that Fritz would like this, and I'm sure he's probably already familiar with it, knowing him. Where is it? There is Figma, and there's Miro. And so if you're a designer, Figma would be very interesting to you. But if you're kind of like a global connector, the platform Miro is one that we're definitely looking at, where you can kind of have, like, if you look at their promo, demo, whatever you want to call it, that it has this brain map or mind map thing right in the middle, and then you can have like all these pictures that are like kind of expanding from there, and just it makes thinking out these processes more collaborative with the rest of your team, so and your client. So,
and so that's another important point, is that there are global systems, so systems that have this ebb and flow and evolution, and there are linear systems, so this is the steps, and you just go through the steps every time. It's very straightforward.
Right.
And there's different tools available for all of those.
So circling back though, I had mentioned the Emyth Revisited, and the reason why I wanted to make sure that I kind of previewed what that's all about is that, generally speaking, when people start their own businesses, they usually start it off kind of, if we're talking about the Kiyosaki, the Kiyosaki quadrants, they generally start off starting a business as a self-employed individual, and not so much in the B quadrant. And they're starting with a more of a technical oriented, this is a skill set that I have. I can do this job for people. I can, just offer what I'm good at on my own terms. It's great. Thing is that as your business grows, you can't be that person. You're going to have to be able to train people. You're going to have to be able to bring on VAs, employees, whatever, partners to do those different parts for you. That being the case, when you start going through the book, it talks about someone that starts doing that from the get-go versus someone that actually starts from the entrepreneurial empire building perspective. And really, there's always going to be an infancy, there's always going to be an adolescent stage, and there's always going to be a advanced, aging adult stage. And the difference is that if you start from the technical perspective first, then you're going to be going through that infancy stage a little bit longer. Through the adolescence phase, it's going to get tougher and tougher. And then when you want to try to finally get into that B quadrant, it's going to be super tough because you've always been the quality control person. You've been the one that's like always like, that is like the entire business is yours, and you're just going to have so much tied up in everything, right? That it's going to be really, really, really hard to let go. And so one of the things that they talk about from that book then is actually becoming the entrepreneur first and then figuring out this other stuff, much like how Ray Kroc developed McDonald's sort of perspective.
Right. Yeah. And that's why I talk and preach about starting scaled, because if you start scaled, you start so much further ahead.
Yeah.
I actually, there was an analogy that came to mind when you were first talking about systems that I thought, I'll still bring this up. But basically when you're starting out, you're talking about that initial hustle is basically like the starter plug. Like it's the spark plug in the car. And that gets you going, that gets the engine going, and that takes advantage of all of the gases and fumes. But you have to, if anyone knows anything about cars, you have to have a very wet or very like dense level of fumes. I think it's dense. The fumes have to be more in the engine in order to start it. But then you have to tamp that back. And if you use motorcycles, you know exactly what I'm talking about as well. You have to turn that down a bit in order to keep the engine running. And a lot of people think that I just have to be in spark plug mode, and if I stay in that super intensity, I'll be able to do it. But what happens is you burn out the engine.
Yeah.
I mean, I see it all the time where a lot of entrepreneurs stay in that intensity and they burn themselves out, literally.
Which again,
and
what
so
gets
that's
you
where.
From what gets you from 0 to 1 is not going to give you from 1 to 2.
No. Nope. And ultimately, with scaling and systems, you shouldn't be going 1 to 2 to 2 to 3 to 3 to 4. You should be going 1 to 2 to 2 to 4 to 4 to 8. Like it should have that compounding effect. In fact, there's a book called The Compound Effect.
Yes.
Have you read it?
Yes. Yep. It's one of those actually initial ones that people, I think that anybody starting, the funny thing is that I am now a big fan of the EOS, which is the Entrepreneurial Operating System, which is something that we're going to be employing inside of Brushfire, because the guy that started that, he actually had something there. But even if you can't pay for the full entire system, there are books that everybody can read and pay attention to in that grouping. One of them is the Emyth Revisited, but another one that I highly recommend to people, and this is kind of off topic, but related, is Rocket Fuel. And
oh yes, I've heard of this one.
The Rocket Fuel is all about having the visionary, but then also having the implementers.
Yeah.
And as you grow your business, again, going back to that whole focus and attention thing, if you're not focused on what you're supposed to be focusing on, whatever that visionary does, and you're trying to implement, and you're going back and forth, you're totally skipping over the systemizing phase, right? And the thing is that you either need to be one or the other, and figure that out. I mean, and for most of us, a lot of us who started off as entrepreneurs, we're better at, especially when we're talking about brands, empires and all this sort of stuff. We're more likely to be a visionary.
Yeah, absolutely. And systems help you with implementation.
Exactly.
So I meet a lot of entrepreneurs who like to stay in that visionary space, and they love the creation space, and that handicaps their ability to grow. I've talked to many entrepreneurs who say why is my competitor over there doing better than me? Their product is subpar. I don't understand. But their business toolkit is more full, and they have the systems to help them get from visionary to implementation over and over again. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Definitely.
So yeah, no, and in fact, that's another thing that they do talk about the and the Emyth is that you have the entrepreneur, you have the systemizer, and then you have the implementer. And if you start off as the implementer, then you're going to have issues like the visionary, the entrepreneur. They can help the systemizer create the systems. The system then gives the rules for the implementer to actually be able to work and do their job. Otherwise,
and that's the perfect segue into next month's workshop, actually, which is around hiring. Because if you don't have your systems both developed and documented, so got to get them out of your head, and not just in scratch paper where like only makes sense to you because you're using whatever shorthand you use for yourself. They have to be documented and fleshed out, because then you can hire. Your training time diminishes significantly because they have the systems to go on. They don't have to just download what's in your head to their heads. And there's a lot more confidence. They're going to do the job better. They're going to feel better about their position. They're going to know where they exist in the company. And so, your like systems are just so important for so many different reasons.
Oh yeah, definitely. And as you said, I mean, definitely the step-by-step ones, but also the creative ones. So the implementers and visionaries both have their own systems.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, like even just I'm wondering if we can like rattle off some systems, but like for event creation, like here we're having an event tonight, we're doing a workshop together. So there's a system of create the assets for the event, and then build the event into Discord, build the event into social media, send out e-blasts at this time, and this time, schedule a bunch of things on social media, blah, 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 right? So there's a system there. There's a system for onboarding clients, for developing leads, systems for speaker pitching for me, in fact. What other systems do you...
you want me to go through my SOPs? I mean...
Do you just have a list in front of you?
I mean, I do have a lot of them here.
Definitely an onboarding system. So there's, for me at least,
SOPs. You can have operation SOPs, email marketing SOPs, content marketing SOPs, analytics and tracking SOPs, logo design SOP, website design SOP, Facebook ads SOP, SEO, graphic design, content writing. All those will have their own system.
Yep. Yeah. Whenever I make a YouTube video, it has a system. New blog has a system. Yeah. Basically anything you do more than once.
Totally be that full stack person and have that all in your head, but that's going to limit yourself from actually scaling your business, period.
Yeah. And it's good. I think it's going to cause you a lot of stress because you're always rattling the cobwebs of your brain in order to find the next step.
Yep. But even if you do have all those things, and you can do all those things as a full stack, you got to. That's the other thing, though, is if you go to, which was our mistake, just because we can do all that stuff and have done all that stuff internally, as far as going to brushfiremarketing.net, little bit of a insert there. You can't throw that stuff all on the page. What we did was we just literally put a menu on the page, and it's just like, no, stick with one thing, be that one.
You can do
totally. Once you get someone like actually in, once you get someone in, once you get someone on the hook, once you get someone to say yes, they need your help, then you can actually say, oh yeah, so we can actually do all that stuff in house.
Yeah, you can unpack it all for them. But like the thing is too, there's an art to it, because otherwise you'll overwhelm the person. Like they just won't even know what to focus on. Right. Won't see the forest for the trees. I call that the window dressing. Like, so like you go to Macy's, you don't go into the store because you've seen everything that they have. You see the window dressing. This looks nice. Here's a nice outfit. It's a nice little sampling. Okay, great. I think I want to go inside. And now that you're inside, oh, they have pots and pans as well. I had no idea. I thought it was just dresses, stuff like that. So when unpacked correctly, the client journey can actually be quite a delight, because your clients and customers learn more as they get deeper into your system, your funnel, most likely. I call it a skyscraper because I have my own opinions about the funnel rhetoric. But as they come deeper into a relationship with you, they learn more about you, the company, the offerings, and it becomes a delightful experience because they feel safe, they trust you, and they're realizing that this is a really fun rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, and again, what we're doing is that if you're not a trusted person, then especially in our situation, introducing businesses to not only just online through helping them create online offers, but just helping them start realizing that they have all these other tools at their disposal and that it's going to be becoming more and more prevalent. Yeah, it's just, you got to build that trust. And if you're throwing everything, if you're throwing so many things at them at once, which again we did, like we've stepped all that down to basically a 3-step process.
Good.
Basically, we look at your offer, right? Is your offer something that other people are going to want to tell their friends about, because we're going to be using an affiliate system to market your whatever it is that you're doing. And then as we get that defined, then it's like, okay, now that we have that done, what is your funnel going to do? What is your copywriting? What's your SEO? Are you going to tap into our network of all these awesome things that we could actually add as bonuses and or guarantee type stuff, right?
Right. But you're unpacking it along the way.
Yeah.
So even your website should have a system and a process, because you're leading someone through messaging online. And that's something that I see a lot of people fumble as well. First of all, they put all their testimonials on one page when they should be sprinkled around, so no one's going to click on that link. And then your call to action should be one on each page, and it leads me to the next step on the website. I'm going deeper into the website. I'm getting to know you better. Yes, I can navigate to other places in the footer and the menu, but the call to action on every page is different and takes me deeper. Yeah. Should be a system. Everything should be a system.
Well, and even your offers, just one more point. You got to start with a do-it-yourself. So if you're teaching someone how to actually do something, if you're doing this online, right? So it's do-it-yourself, which is an info product, whatever that happens to be. That can be for free. That can be a freemium. That can be low cost, low entry, whatever you want to be. Then the next level up, if you want to have a next level up, is the do it with me. And that can take the form of conferences. That can take the form of a membership site. That can take the form of, an ongoing Zoom challenge community, whatever that happens to be. Can take the form of a Discord site, for example, right? But from there, then it becomes, I don't have time. So your client is like, I love everything that you're about. I appreciate the upfront knowledge. I see that you're helping other clients do stuff. Can you just do it for me? So that's the third one, is that third offer is the do it for me. And until you have that build up, then it's going to be a big jump between, for a lot of people anymore, the window dressing to actually committing to buy something, especially if you're doing high ticket level stuff.
Yeah. Usually there's a few more steps in between if you're going for high ticket level, like you said.
Yeah.
But so just to put a pause here, we're actually 40 minutes in, past the hour. And so this is where we like to start to open it up to questions and comments from the audience. So just a reminder to those who are listening, you can take yourself off mute. You can put your video on. The easiest way to do that is if you are on desktop, just move your mouse around, and at the bottom of the screen, you'll see the controls to unmute yourself and put yourself on video. Oh, Fritz did a costume change.
Yeah, he's Clark Clint over here.
You're still muted though.
Yeah, I literally just noticed that at the same time. Yeah, I did a glow down instead of a glow up. I glow down.
I go down.
I dirty up nice.
Yeah.
I get that a lot. That would have been funny if I shaved, like while I was like, what the heck?
Yeah, presto changeo.
There we go. Presto.
Yeah, I was about to say that's my thing, but
that's a good thing. He's trademarked that. You're going to get me shot.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I have struggled with for years is right in line with scaling. And JC, as you were talking about, like, oh, I've got to wear 6 different hats, and you got to know how to say no to stuff. Like, I'm not a master of that. Like, I'm aware that I have that capability. I can say no to certain things, but like, what is a good way to know whether, hey, this thing is something I really should spend my energy and pour my heart into versus, I need to set this aside or maybe delegate it to somebody else. Like, how do you, what's your mental filter? How do you make that decision?
So should it be a system?
Yeah. Or should you utilize a system to actually make that decision? And that's something else to think about, right? So one of the things that I talked about quite a lot on towards somewhere in the middle 100 episodes of the podcast was all about finding your personal mission, right? And finding really what finding what your ikigai looks like. What's your purpose? What's your passion? What's your process? And once you have those 3 P's, you have your 4th P, which is your profit, right? And I can tell you how many times that Gary Vee's talked about this. Is like, if you're not doing what it is that you like to get up for in the morning, then you're going to have a hellish life. And so I just spent a lot of time really figuring that out. And, I think a lot of people have to spend the time to do that inventory so that, when you're doing the work that you're doing, that it's actually fulfilling. And a lot of people, when that they're trying to fulfill an empty void in their life by going out to the bars every weekend after a hard day at the work, doing what it is, then something's not quite right. And in fact, what I can do is that one of the guys that I've really fallen for recently, as far as kind of like one of those online mentor type people, is Alex Hormozy. And he was actually talking about some of this stuff in one of his more recent videos. But he and his wife used to kind of apparently be party animals at one point, or at least went to bars and everything. But because they were getting that fulfillment out of the work that they were doing, then they weren't trying to fill it up with alcohol. But that kind of actually some of the points that we've talked about today was covered in that video. Is why this is on the top of my head so easily. But anyway, kind of going back to what you were asking, Fritz, is how do you determine which ones to offload? The simplest answer that I can think of is what activities can you do that are going to get the most income? Meaning, what's the term? There's actually kind of like an ROI.
Return on investment.
Yeah, I mean, there's ROI, but there's also income-related activities, I think is what it is, right? And so from there, one of the reasons why I started the podcast was to have a reason to connect with people that naturally I wouldn't necessarily have a reason to connect with them, right? During COVID, I realized I didn't necessarily have that problem anymore. The other thing that the podcast was doing for me was getting my name out there. As you know, kind of like the solopreneur. I'm not doing the solopreneur thing anymore. I'm part of a team now. And something that's really been in that last interview that we had with Pat, Veronica, I think the reason why he continues to do the podcast is that he's had a lot of following from the podcast. But if you're not having that much luck doing that, then it might be time to have something else. And to be perfectly frank, when it comes to business in general, it's as simple as having a product or an offer or a service and finding the channels of distribution, right? Mm-hmm. And if you can partner with people who have lists, affiliates, right, and you have some sort of an offer there, and then we were talking about the info product, the membership, and then the
leading
do it
them
for
through.
me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those first two, you can actually pair up with affiliates to get the word out there for you, and then you're only paying them by commission, and so you're never really paying marketing money unless something's actually being sold, right? So there's a lot of things that I could go into what to do, but I think it's really just coming back to that: what activities are going to be beneficial to that bottom line?
Whatever, like that, what your defined ROI is, what your defined need or success is at that time. And so I might say, as a system, maybe the first question you can ask yourself is, does this excite me? Because if it doesn't, as you were saying, JC, if you're not rolling out of bed in the morning, excited about it, then it should not be in your life. So if it does excite you, then why does it excite you? And at that juncture, there's another split of, like, does this excite me enough that I want to do this myself? Or does it excite me because, as JC was saying, it's useful to my business, it's useful to getting to my bottom line, but I don't know that I necessarily want to be doing it myself. And so then that would be your delegation point.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Somewhere I can stick this URL in, right?
You'll have to pop it into the main chat, which is where we're going to regroup after in a couple of minutes, and I'm going to dump all of the resources that we talked about today as well.
Okay, super.
Yeah.
I think the weirdest part for me is that oftentimes the things that excite me the most are not things that necessarily generate money. I'm investing my time in building out infrastructure for the business, but it's really weird. But what's excited me the most recently is bringing in like a part-time VA to go through my Trello board and be like, can you just put like 15-minute, 30-minute, 60-minute blocks on my calendar? So I have someone ding at me and let me know, hey, it's time to do this. And I can just focus on that. Like, holy moly, that's awesome.
And so that's why it's your defense. Yeah.
Money doesn't have to be the motivating factor.
Right.
What you need to have is really, what are you working towards, really defined. Mm-hmm. That's the key thing, right? Are you looking to have, and you have to be very, very particular with that. Are you looking to be, for me, I was realizing that I probably the last 10, 15 episodes, I was doing most of the work on the weekends. No, because I'm not going to work during the week and then on the weekends no, especially not with a new
not with
new
a
kid,
kiddo.
right? Yeah. So you got to be able to figure out, like, what is your lifestyle wanting to be? Does it include a certain amount of income? And then from there, really put the systems in place to get you there. And I swear that once you guys check out this video that I put in the chat, I mean, you're going to start understanding why Hermosi is like the only person, he and his wife are the only two people that I have notifications coming on my phone that someone's posted a new video.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm guessing that we're all here because we do want to make money outside of the corporate world. But our definition of success, everyone's definition of success here is different for how we get to that point. And success, like you were saying, Fritz, for you maybe in the near term looks different, and it might get you to the income, but it might also get you to closer to living a more values driven life, or it might get you closer to the peace of mind that you desire to end the year with, or X, Y, or Z. So we have near-term goals, we have long-term goals, and there's probably several different success metrics in each day, even, let alone just the long-term sprint.
Yeah. Does that help?
Very good. Yeah, any other thoughts, questions, comments, stories? I know we've got Jason here, Emily was here. I think she bounced no. And then we'll also have this, hopefully this time recorded, and so the replay will be in the main room so you all can see it. We might I might create like a separate room for events, and so that they just stick around and you can browse them forever, because we like to give like that.
That in itself right there is like, one of the tricks that I recently learned is like, oh yeah, we'll have the replays for a limited time, but if you want them in the future, you're going to have to be part of a membership.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, because even simple things like this, you'd be surprised at what kind of nuggets are being dropped.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, I've actually got my mastermind was always recorded, and so if you're part of that system and you pay into it, you get all of those videos, all those conversations, all those hot seats. Everything can be commoditized. It's just, what do you want to be commoditized, and what's the commodity? Is it money, or like you're in the lounge, this is all free? So then the commodity is membership, community, and y'all have to put up with me.
I just wanted to confirm.
Answer again, JC?
SOP.
Standard of
No,
procedure.
itself. That's what I hear as a similarity, but as a difference, what I'm hearing is that JC, it sounds like you are it sounds like you're talking about the division of tasks to different people, whereas Veronica, you saying that it can be even applied to, not necessarily applied like that, but applied to one person or more, but not necessarily that much of it's not as fundamental to the nature of systems to have it that way. Whereas, I'm excited to read the Emyth Revisit. I didn't know there was a Revisited. I read the first one, but there it's much more focused on different people doing different things. So again, the commonality that I'm hearing is that it's the way you actually structure your business, even going down to where where you put what button on the web page. But the difference is that JC, you seem to be saying that it's more focused on on having different people doing different things. That's more of a system.
Yeah.
Yeah, a system can start.
That's a personnel system. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's one type of system, but a system can be how you work every single day as an individual. The system can be how you manage your social media. Are you using a scheduler? What day of the week do you schedule the posts? Are there any sort of hashtags that you use or things like that? Your client journey is going to be a system that you'll be building out. So the systems are very, very, very useful and critical to delegating, but they come before you ever start delegating, or they should.
Well, and I can kind of run through. Let's just see here. Just kind of read off to you, for example, one of my SOPs. It's a website building standard operating procedures. It's to build a WordPress website for your client. The website will have the following: fully responsive website, security plugin, SEO plugin, goes to SEO, integration of social media links, autoresponder email integration, stock images, custom slider images, unlimited revisions, and 1 page, 5 pages, or 7 pages, depending on how much they were actually quoted for and whatever the scope of the work is. And then from there, I have follow the steps below. So number 1 would register for tools, website below, and the steps on how to do that. Number 2 would decide on the price for the website and invoice the client 50% deposit, and the remaining 50% is due upon completion. Number 3 is create a Google form for onboarding your client. So that gets all their information as far as like, you know, their
passwords, company name, URL,
all that, you know. Where their host is, all that sort of thing. And then after that information has been gathered, you can go to number 4, which is finding a theme for them in WordPress, a theme forest. Then you can go to, say, Fiverr to find web designers who, if you really want to outsource that part, which we do, go to Fiverr to actually kind of do a little bit more of the customization with all the stuff that they've already put in. And then communicate with the web designer and the client to ensure that all the needs are met during the development process. Number 6 is show that the client is final website and get their sign-off as completed. 7 is do a Loom video showcasing the website and highlighting all the amazing work that has been done. 8, send the client the invoice for the final 50%. 9, once the payment is made, the client login details to access their site. And then 10, upsell the client to more services, which include social media services, content writing, video marketing to promote their site on social media, and SEO. That's all in a doc format.
That's great.
That's a good website development journey.
No, it makes it a lot easier to conceptualize. The first thing that you were talking about, that was a brief from the client. And then what followed the steps was your operating procedure. So that would be your system. Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. And the system gives you peace of mind, and it also means that you can study your company. So in the last 1 minute that we have here, I'm going to impress that significantly. That if you don't have systems, you can't study your company because you're always going to be doing something a little bit differently. Systems make it studyable, which makes it improvable. So that's my mic drop. You got to have systems.
Emyth Revisited. Check out that book for sure.
So thank you, JC, for being with us. JC is actually here in the lounge sporadically, as he says, but you can connect with him here. And JC, if you want people connecting with you any other way, you're welcome to leave your details, of course, in the main room.
Yeah, hit me up on LinkedIn and still JC Preston, and just let me know that you met me through as one of the empire builders, Veronica friends.
Yeah. So awesome. Well, that's my Thursday night, your Thursday afternoon. Thanks, everyone. And we'll get we'll get the resources and we'll get the recording up in just a little bit. So I hope you all have a great day. Go systemize some things. Tell us about it. We'll see you soon.
All right.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.